Hi, I'm Craig Priest. This is another episode of Beers with the Band, but today it is extremely special because we have Rob Conley here, who is all the way from Ohio, and he's living in Australia now. But he's not just your average kind of guy. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's also a producer and a publisher.
I'm a producer and a songwriter. I do not sing.
Not sing.
That's alright.
Why don't you sing?
Oh shit! I'm the worst singer.
Yeah?
Ever. Oh, I can.
Have you tried though?
Oh my god! I have album out where I was the vocalist, and it's rubbish.
Singer-songwriter, as I said earlier.
You did say.
No, no. So Rob, I really wanted to know, I guess, about you is what is it about music that just gets you going? That's going to be the biggest probably question of the whole interview, but I guess I wanted to start off with it.
I don't know. I come from a family. My family wasn't into music. No one in my family can play a musical instrument. No one can sing. No one was into it. I just got into it. I very randomly, when I was 13, got a hold of a Depeche Mode record, the band Depeche Mode, right? And it was the first time I'd heard electronic music. And I put it on, and I was obsessed with it. I just loved it straight away. And I don't know what it was. It just clicked with me. And I went, I want to do some of that. So the very first thing I got was a drum machine. So I started making just music with the drum machine, which was just drum loops. And then I eventually got a keyboard, and I just started to do the stuff that I liked. And it's just what I've always done. I did it as a hobby for maybe 15 years, and then I've done it professionally for 15 years.
Wow. So in Ohio, that's where it all started, though.
That's
right?
where it started. I was living in my parents' house. Yeah, I was 13.
Yeah.
Making music.
And then you moved to LA, though.
I moved to LA. I moved to Chicago first. I lived in Chicago for 5 years. I was doing industrial music, so I had an industrial band. We were obsessed with Nine Inch Nails and Skinny Puppy and all this really...
That's very like German metal of you, I guess.
It was horrible. I still like it because it's what I used to like, but the music that I made to fit in with that genre was terrible. And
you're not proud of it at this stage?
No, I think it's why I have no friends to this day.
Except for the fuckload of people that are underneath us right now. Yeah, no, you've got no friends, of course.
It was bad, but that's what I did. I made industrial music for a long time.
But then what made you want to then go to LA, or did somebody bring you to LA?
Okay, so what happened was I had a really bad breakup with a girl.
It always comes down to love.
My reaction to her cheating on me was to pack all my shit up and move to Los Angeles. So I literally packed everything I owned up into a U-Haul van, which is a rental van that you move your shit with.
Yeah.
And I got to LA, and I put my stuff into a storage unit, and I dropped off the rental van, and I started walking around LA. I met a girl at a Starbucks who let me sleep on her couch. I did not know a single person. I had $1,000 in the bank, and my storage unit was going to cost $250 for the first couple of weeks.
Jesus.
And I stayed with this girl. Didn't sleep with her. Stayed with her. I slept on her couch for a bit. And then I started calling around to recording studios looking for an intern gig. And maybe the fourth studio I called, this dude was like, yeah, man, come on in. I'd love to have you. So I went and I started working for free at the studio. And it was like literally scrubbing toilets, mopping floors, fetching sandwiches, picking up laundry. I didn't do anything musical, but he had a fridge that had some food in it, and he had a couch that I would sneak in and sleep on because I didn't have anywhere to stay. So
they didn't know that you were sleeping there?
Not really. Like, I mean, he probably did, but I would like leave and then come back after he was gone, and then like just sort of stay and get out in the morning before. Jeez. It was all very, very shady. It was very desperate times.
Yeah.
This was 1998.
Fuck.
Were you even alive then?
I was alive then. Oh. Yeah. Fuck. Look at these grey hairs. I was alive then. But yeah, wow. And then...
So that at that studio, the very first project that came through that I got to actually do some engineering work on was the band Kiss. So the rock band Kiss came through. I worked on the album Kiss Alive 3, which was a live album for the band Kiss, done entirely in the studio. So,
wow.
So it was a fake live album.
And that's still when you were when you were an intern?
Yes, I was an intern. So I would fetch Gene Simmons sandwiches. I would listen to Gene Simmons talk in the kitchen for many, many, many hours. I started to literally hide from him. I'd see him coming and I'd be like, I'm out here,
He's like, I've got a story to tell you.
Oh, he just gave lots of life advice because he knew I was broke and struggling. So he was always trying to sort of help my situation, but he never offered me any money.
I was about to say, this motherfucker's the richest.
So rich. And he's telling me like what I can do to make a bit of extra money. I'm like,
one of those cheap bastards is like, I'll give you something that's worth more than money. That's knowledge, good sir.
And it was like hours and hours and hours of knowledge. But I got to actually do a bit of engineering work. I was sort of hooking up mics, and I did do a bit of actual in the studio interning.
Yeah.
So I was in the studio. I was working with Kiss, and they got a call to rent Studio B, which didn't really exist. It was like a closet. And, and it was this really massive producer, a guy by the name of Walter Afanasieff. And he had just won a Grammy for the song in the Titanic, My Heart Will Go On. So he was massive.
Celine Dion?
Yeah. He'd written every Mariah Carey song. So he wrote Hero, he wrote all of Mariah Carey's hits. He'd written Beauty and the Beast. Like, this guy was at the top of his game. So he was coming in for one day to write a song with the guy who wrote Livin' La Vida Loca for Ricky Martin.
Yes.
And they were trying to write Ricky Martin's next single. So one day, and the engineer at the studio I was at said, can you go into that session? And just really the brief was, try not to fuck it up. But I'd never done anything like this. I had no training at all at this. So I was setting everything up, and I had all this stuff going, and I had this drum beat going when the producer walked in. He's like, whoa, what's going on here? I was like, nothing, sorry man, I was just playing with your MPC trying to get some shit happening. Yeah. He's like, no, I quite like that, give me a piano sound and go. And so he started jamming on the piano, and this drum loop was going, and the other guy, who neither of us had met yet, came bouncing in going, she bangs, ooh baby when she moves. We were like, whoa. And they wrote She Bangs that day. I was in the studio while they wrote the song She Bangs for Ricky Martin.
Because some guy just came in and
No, it was the guy that was supposed to be there. But it was just, it all happened really that quickly. There, he was playing a thing on the piano, and this guy just came literally bouncing like, she bangs, she bangs. And I don't know if he thought of that in the car or what. I don't know where that came from, but it fit over what he was doing and over the loop that was playing. And at the end of that day, everyone was obviously super elated because it was like, this song's a fucking smash. We all know it's a smash. And he hired me on the spot. And he took me to San Francisco. And like a week after that, so I'd been in this studio for maybe 8 months. No money, no food. Yeah. I was so down and out. I actually didn't know what I was going to do. Literally a week in, and he gave me the keys to a Range Rover. He put me up in this mansion that had its own swimming pool. My own mansion with a swimming pool, and this studio that had like tennis courts and Range Rover 4-wheel drives, and it was mental. And it was
so like, you literally started from here, and then you just went bang.
Overnight, just boom. Yeah. And then so we finished She Bangs, which took a couple of weeks. We worked on that song for a long time. And then the very next project was Destiny's Child. So Destiny's Child, Beyonce, and the crew, they all came in. We did 2 songs with them. And then
you worked with Queen Bee.
And then Beyonce came back, and we did 2 songs on her first solo album.
Wow.
So I've worked on 4 songs with Queen Bee. Then after that, we did a Carlos Santana album, and he was sick. We were smoking joints on the tennis court.
Oh, shit.
It was literally the first day, and he walked in, and they had this track that was there, and Carlos was like, yeah, I like that. And there was a bunch of guys setting up his guitar sound, which is like a chain of shit. Like, all the way down the hallway. It was ridiculous. Amazing, but ridiculous. So they're setting it all up, and there's guys fiddling with the sound, and I'm playing the song, and he's sort of picking his way through it a bit, and then it gets about halfway through, and he's really getting into it, and then it hits the bridge, and he fucking just goes for it, and he lays into this solo that was like euphoric, and everyone was like, oh my god, that was amazing, and the song ends like, that was so amazing, and everyone's high-fiving, and they look at me, and like, did you get that? And I was like,
no.
No, I didn't.
Well, was I meant to?
Recording, we were just playing. He just fucking got here. Like, he hasn't even tuned that thing yet. It's like, and it just killed the vibe. Everyone was like, literally everyone just walked out and left me sitting in this room for like an hour.
And were you still young and kind of fresh at that stage?
Oh, I was, I was at this job.
Yeah.
But I was, I was 30 or something. So I wasn't a kid, but
But you were
far out. I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to record every time someone's doing anything. So I missed it. I literally missed it. And he was like, later on, we were smoking a joint on the tennis court. He's like, that was literally one of my best solos.
Oh, no! He made it even worse for you. You're like, oh, thanks, buddy. Like, I already felt fucking pretty shit about it, so I appreciate you bringing it back up and fucking rehashing how good that was.
But at the end of it, he tried to poach me actually from that job to go on tour with him and run his Pro Tools setup. He wanted me to go on the Carlos Santana tour, and I had to turn him down.
You turned it
But
down.
in the liner notes of his album, he actually thanked me and called me the Jimi Hendrix of programming.
Hey!
In the liner notes.
That's not bad. Fucking hell.
I mean, I had 3 years there, and it was just all the A-listers. It was Justin Timberlake. I recorded Michael Jackson's vocals. We did a whole Celine Dion record. We did a fucking Michael Bolton record. We did a Kenny G record. It was all this really random stuff, but it was all very, super polished, really commercial music.
Yeah.
So that was where I got my production chops. Like, I worked with this guy. I was his right-hand man for 3 years, and we just did album after album. It was 16 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
We never took breaks. It was just full on. They work a lot harder in America.
Yeah, than in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Is that why you came to Australia? Because you're like,
Here we
I need a
started at
break.
11 and I'm home by 6. And there it's like you start at 10 and you're home at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it's back in at 10 to 6 in the morning.
And
every
here
day.
you work 3 days, and you're like,
Yeah.
it's a nice
gonna
day
go to the
outside,
beach.
we'll go to the beach.
And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
So I do love that. Because
Yeah.
I really did get over working my guts out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did get to a stage where you were just like,
Yes, I eventually quit that job because I got my first co-write and my first production from the lead singer from Savage Garden. So a guy called Darren Hayes, who was an Australian guy.
Yes.
And he came to the studio, and Walter had done the second Savage Garden album, which sold 10 million copies. And Darren came back to do a couple songs, and I met Darren, and my wife, Leonie, was being managed by Darren. So Darren came into the studio, and he was working, and then he brought her back the next day all done up. And was like, he actually said to her, I met the guy today that you're going to marry.
Really?
Yeah. And then he brought her back into the studio, and we met, we hit it off. And he organized a limo, randomly organized a limo that day to pick me up and take us to Gay Mardi Gras in San Francisco. And Leo and I went, and we pretty much have just hung out every day since. But
Wow.
so when that project finished, when the Darren Hayes album finished, I quit that job and went on tour with Darren and Leonie. And we toured the world for 6 years, making records. I made 4 Darren Hayes records that we would make the record, I'd write and produce it with him, and then we'd tour it. So we just went around the world, every little spot in the world.
So did you have a special connection with Darren, or was it just that was what your paying gig was at that stage?
No, I did. I liked him a lot, and he
Yeah.
really gave me a shot. He could see that I was like, I had this industrial music background, and I didn't really get pop music. I wasn't in that world.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was in this like really cookie cutter pop world.
Yeah, of
and
course.
he just loved that I was outside of that. I
Yeah.
was like punk rock to him. And so he just gave me a lot of shots. We spent a lot of time in the studio just experimenting, and he would just sing over whatever I was doing, and it just was cool. It was just a good vibe.
Well, I want to talk about one of the reasons why we're here, 50 songs in 5 days.
Yep.
So that's yours and your wife, Leonie's songwriting camp that you've started.
Correct.
Can you please explain it to the people that haven't heard it before?
Yes. It is a songwriting event, goes across 25 studios. So that means there's 25 producers in a room. We get 25 artists in the room, and then we've got 50 top liners. So other songwriters in the room. So there's 4-way sessions in 25 studios that go for 5 days. And it's supposed to be 50 songs, but if you do the math, it's more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's closer to 100 songs,
Yeah.
but 100 songs didn't sound as nice. So we just called it 50 songs. But it's a massive songwriting event. So it's 5 days of writing. We write from 10:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, and then it's pretty much 5 days of partying afterwards.
That's what.
So it's
they
really
come here for.
it's an attempt to bring the songwriting community together.
Yeah.
Because songwriters are pretty much a bunch of recluses, a bunch of fucking hermits that sit in a room by themselves, and like one person will come in and they'll write a song. This takes everyone out of that, and it's like we're all chucked together. Everyone's scared to death, and like no one thinks they're good enough to be there.
Yeah.
But by the end, you got a whole community of people who are mates, and they go on to write stuff together, and we actually get a lot of cuts out of it, and it's a pretty big week. The original name that I had for it, I wanted to call it the 5-Day Bender. And that was its working title for a while, and then I was forced to make it. Like, we can't.
I don't know how that would go too well commercially.
It would have been great for you.
Oh, it would have been great for us. We would have continued on. Let's call it the 6-Day Bender and just keep going. I guess I want to know as well then, so what happens after this whole thing? So
we take the 100 songs, we put them on a SoundCloud link for all the people who were involved, and then that's it. It's up to everybody else. I mean, we as a company, we as a brand we don't own any of the songs, we don't do anything with it. But what's clever about it is that our publishing company, where we have 4 songwriters signed to it, we put them into it and make sure that they get amazing sessions.
Yeah.
So that it does help us in that sense, and it helps. It keeps us in the middle of all the record labels, all the publishing companies, all the managers, all the artists. Like, we're in the middle of all of them.
So with 50 songs in 5 days, do you have any other future plans? Are you the kind of guy that sees just 1 year ahead, or are you like looking into the future?
Really just the 1 year ahead for that event.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to grow our publishing company is what we're trying to do. So we're looking for outside of the box ideas to make a publishing company successful.
Wow.
So that is what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
It's about being able to brand ourselves so that we become recognized.
Yeah,
That's really the motivation behind the whole thing. Well, and it's working. It's like, it works.
Well, you're meeting a whole bunch of new people that you probably would never come
and we're in there,
and
there's 2 people from the camp this year that I want to sign to my publishing company, so I'm going to pursue that. And I'm sure that our writers got some cuts this week.
You reckon they're going to get...
They come out with some...
Because you guys actually pitch the songs to...
No, well, what we do is we make sure that in every session at 50 songs, there's an artist that's making a record right now. So they're looking for songs, they want to build a record.
Yeah.
And so everyone in the room has an opportunity to get a song on that record.
Yes. And then that's where the money comes into play, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
On the back end.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah. The vibe downstairs especially has just been so chill.
The whole week.
Everyone's loving
chill.
everybody, yeah.
And
I was talking to Liz earlier, and she just, before this whole thing started, she said that I don't know if it was written somewhere or if you guys just said it, but you were like, leave the egos at the door.
Yeah, Leo says that all the time.
Yeah, and I love that so much because, like, don't get me wrong, you've got some people downstairs that have been involved in this that are big people. They're well-known people in the industry, and they've worked with some of the biggest artists in the world at the moment. So you kind of need that. And then you've got people that have never worked with anybody before, and then you've got people that have just done nothing but work with... Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but what you guys are doing is putting them on an even playing field.
That's right.
Which is unbelievable.
And we're putting them in sessions that none of them would ever get.
Yeah.
So this guy would never get in with that guy, and that guy would never take that session outside of this week. But they don't have a choice because they show up on in the morning, and what they're doing is put on the wall that day. So they can't change it. They can't whinge about it. They look at it and they go, "That's my day.
That's it. That's who I'm with."
And they do it. Yeah. And generally, everyone's really surprised.
Yeah.
They're like, I would have never done that session, but fuck, that was amazing. And
that's
a
awesome.
Great day. So many great days come out of it.
That's awesome. Well, Rob, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your time. I really, really appreciate it.
No worries.
And I can't wait to have you on another episode of Beers with the Band. But for now, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers.